Hello to the cousins who are hanging close together today on the tree. And we have James, Cleo, Winnie. Where are you, Winnie? There you are, you're hiding under the bush, under the garland. Come out, come out, come out. Winnie. Roman and Sterling. Okay, today we are going to read some more from Wannabe Farms. First, we will go over some words. And now that Christmas is over, next things we have to talk about is happy, H-A-P-P-Y, birthday, B-I-R-T-H-D-A-Y, because the next birthday is going to be James, who's going to be 4. All right, here's some words we will probably see in this story. Are not, no, dog. I don't think there's any dog in the story, but Baxter really wanted to know how to spell dog. The. I almost always see the word the in a story. Was. She. I-N-Y-O-U. Love. L-O-V. Dad. D-A-D. And. A-N-D. Mom. Were. Me. M-E. Yes. Y-E-S. He is an it. Those are all words that will probably be in this story. So as we read, let's look for some of those words. And again, it's Wannabe Farms. We saw a story about the cows who wanted to build a car. That didn't work out very well about the car, but they did climb a mountain or hill, found some great things on the hill, and kind of had a lot of fun. Then we saw the chickens who wanted to build a TV. They were not any good at building TVs. So what they ended up doing was putting on their own show. So they didn't have to look at a TV. They could sing and dance and act and put on plays and do all sorts of things without even having a TV. Today we're going to talk about the sheep. And when you take the wool off of the sheep, their hair, maybe once or twice a year they get shaved. They're called sheared. To take that off, and wool that makes clothing like, scarves and sweaters and blankets. And so the sheep know all about shearing, but what are they going to decide to do? I forgot to talk about the pigs who decided that they really, really love wearing their food. Let's see a picture of the sheep and the pigs wearing their food. Oh yeah. They decided they really like to wear food. That was a lot of fun. Because pigs are kind of sloppy. Okay. Today's story is the day the sheep wanted to become barbers. A barber is someone who cuts your hair. And it's literally impossible, by the way. So, huge mess. turn this so that we can both read it at the same time. So here we are at Wannabe Farm, and the sheep are looking at the pigs who are wearing their food. He's wearing their spaghetti jacket, and I think that's a cupcake on her head. Yep. Okay. If you're keeping score, here's what happened so far. The cows started it all by building a car. That inspired the chickens to build a TV, which inspired the pigs to act all fancy. So it happened again one day with the sheep. One day on a cool, cloudy morning, as the sheep tried to sleep, out of the blue came a construction crew, stomping right through the wet morning dew. They hammered, they hauled, they hoisted things high. They were done in an hour. They did not say goodbye. It was a sheep's pasture. That's the grassy area where they go out and eat the grass. It was a sheep's pasture. It could not be ignored. It stood 50 feet tall. It was a brand new billboard. That's what a billboard is. It was huge. It was massive. It blocked out the sky. It was something to look at for the cars that drove by. The sheep couldn't read it, but they could certainly see lots of beautiful models with their hair wild and free. So the billboard, which was an ad that people driving in cars down the road could see, had a picture of women with long hair, and it was for fancy shampoo to wash your hair. The flock soon forgot it, but 4 sheep just stared. There was something about all that beautiful hair. Then an old English sheepdog, there's a dog in this backstrip, an old English sheepdog came to herd them away. Off to the shed, it was sheep shearing day. And that's when the thought jumped into their head. They should avoid getting sheared and cut off their own hair instead. Sheep that get sheared have no style or grace. Hair is removed from their bodies, hair is removed from their face. But what if the hair wasn't sheared off completely and instead had some style and was cut cool and neatly? The idea was exciting. They made it their duty. The sheep wanted glamour. The sheep wanted beauty. Why should the humans have all the fun? Couldn't the sheep put their own hair in a bun? Or have a mohawk, or a crew cut, or a sheep pompadour, or a high-tapered fades, or long braids to the floor? So look at the sheep were thinking, wow, instead of having all of our hair cut off, we could make all these really fancy hairstyles. So 4 ducked away and they escaped from the line, hiding in bushes, biding their time. Where the cows and the chickens had tried to build things and the pigs had set out to see what luxury brings, the sheep had a mission that was focused and clear. They needed the tool to shear. They'd all seen the farmer do his shearing before, shaving them bald, their hair on the floor. Ooh. So here it's nighttime. Here's these 4 sheep who have this crazy idea. And this is where they usually go to get their hair cut. So they hid out on a bush so they didn't get their hair cut with the other sheep. So they hid out all day until the man went to bed. Then they made their way over to the sheep shearing shed. It was a 2-story structure made just to shave wool. The door was unlocked, so they gave it a pull. They raced to the loft, and they knew just what to do. It was hair cutting time for the lamb, rams, and ewes. Now, this seems a good spot to stop and think about things for a second. First of all, I'm guessing you just learned a couple of new words. Maybe you knew that a lamb was a younger sheep, but did you know that a grown male sheep was called a ram, and females are called ewes? And guess what? There's a French word coming up very soon. It's a French word for your butt. So you'll want to remember it. Now let's talk about the lamb, rams, and ewes for a second. I've seen a lot of sheep, and I'll be honest with you. Not once did I say to myself that sheep really looks like it knows how to cut hair. Not once did I say I would trust that sheep with a sharp cutting tool. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but sheep don't have things like hands and fingers, which are really important when cutting hair and holding on to sharp objects. But they believed they could do it, and here's what happened. They found the sheep shears near the wall on a stool. They fitted in their mouth, and they got covered in drool. One swung his head wildly to start cutting hair, but the blade just got stuck near a ram's derriere. Whoa, that's that French word. That means butt. He got the shear stuck in the ram's butt. Uh-oh. What's going to happen? Yow! He shot up in pain, crashing hard on the rail, landing on his head and smashing his tail. Yeah, that really hurt. The buzz was a sound the sheep remembered quite clearly, the sound of shearing that happened once yearly. So they tried it again. One picked them back up, and he swung his head wildly. Was it dangerous? Yep. That's what he did. Oh, goodness. He clipped easily through one side of the ewe, and it wasn't pretty exactly, and it frightened her too. She jumped to the side, but the loft was so small, she got buzzed again when she bounced off the wall. Oh boy, look at these terrible haircuts. A big tuft of wool flew off her head. Where there was once cute curls, there was a disaster instead. She wanted to run, but there was no place to go, while the crazy sheep barber jerked his head to and fro. It was total confusion, flying wool everywhere. Now all the sheep were losing big clumps of hair. From all the commotion, the loft started to bust. The boards started creaking, air filled with dust. The sheep didn't move. They were frozen in fear. Then they looked at each other, and the carnage was clear, meaning the big mess they made. Whoa, look at it. Their hair looked so awful, it couldn't look worse. One looked like a waffle, one looked like a curse. They all looked horrendous, no beauty, no style. They were mangy and messy, and it had not been worthwhile. Then one floorboard snapped. What a frightening sound. Then the whole loft collapsed, and the sheep fell to the ground. They landed with force, and each let out a bleat. They looked at each other. That bleat sounded so neat. They tried it again. This one sweet note let out a blah, and the rest joined along. The sound was enchanting. The notes swelled their heart, and they created true beauty, harmony in 4 parts. Despite their bad haircuts, they were far from upset. Instead of barbers, they were a barber shop quartet. They returned to the pasture singing their song, and the flock gathered around and all joined along. It was an odd-looking, sweet-sounding, magnificent sight as a song filled the air on that beautiful night. They were patchy, looked silly, but they had to grin. The outside doesn't matter. Beauty comes from within. So to sum things up, I just have to say, if your barber's a sheep, you should run away. They weren't any good at being a barber and cutting hair, but they really loved making noise and singing. Bah! Oh, and that's the end of our sheep story. Next story we're going to talk about horses. So, I hope you liked our story today, and I will be reading you another story in probably another couple days. So have a wonderful day, and I love you all. Bye-bye.